Well, last episode, I talked about the use of allusion in songwriting, and I was talking about Merle Haggard and Bob Dylan and Robert Johnson. And tonight, I want to talk again about allusion in songwriting, but with reference to different artists this time. Tonight, I want to talk about Hank Williams Sr. and Hank Williams Jr. Hank Williams Sr. is a towering figure in my world. So I bought a book, I remember at Bookstar in Memphis, Tennessee, when I was very young, of Hank Williams Sr.'s lyrics. And they made a powerful impact on my imagination, heavily influenced my songwriting, my whole idea of what it means to write good lyrics. And I just studied that book and relished it. And we sang a lot of Hank Williams songs, gospel songs in my church growing up, a number of them. Songs like I Saw the Light, How Can You Refuse Him Now? So Hank Williams is a figure I revere and have been studying for a long, long time. Hank Williams Jr. is a songwriter that I admire as well, and I remember listening to his music when I was a teenager and younger and enjoying it, songs like Country Boy Can't Survive. But anyway, tonight I want to start with Hank Williams Sr.'s song called Lost Highway. I remember when I was starting out, well, not really starting out, but at some point in my life when I was a teenager, I got serious about playing French harmonica. My grandpa on my daddy's side played French harp, and my dad thought that I could play. He just had a guess about it, like a hunch. He's like, I believe you could blow a French harp like daddy. And so when I was like 6 years old, he bought me my very first French harp, and I started playing it. And pretty soon after that, I was playing it in church. And so I've been playing French harmonica pretty much all my life, since I was 6. And I remember when I was a teenager, as I said, I wanted to get better at French harp. And there was a guy named Claude Garner in my home county. He lived in a little community called Riverside, who was quite a well-known harmonica player, had won a bunch of awards and played with a lot of super famous people, like Hank Williams, actually. He'd played with Hank Williams Sr., and he was a regular part for a time of the Bob Wills and the Texas Playboys. He played with a bunch of famous people and won major awards, as I say. And I remember when I was growing up, sometimes you'd be in a local, like, grocery store, and you'd suddenly hear harmonica across the building somewhere inside the grocery store. You'd hear it from far away, someone playing it live. That was usually Claude Garner in there. He'd be in there blowing French harp in the middle of the grocery store and drawing a crowd. So the only harmonica lesson I ever got, I taught myself how to play. The one lesson I ever received, one afternoon, blessed afternoon, I went out to Riverside and sat for a couple of hours with Mr. Claude, and he showed me a few things. Mainly we just visited. But he did teach me a few things that day that were valuable. And just being up close to a guy who's a master is going to teach you some things, even if he doesn't explain what he's doing. You hear it, and you think, oh, I think now that I'm up close, I'm hearing this, I can probably figure this out. That was part of it, too. And I really appreciated his taking time with me that day. And I remember that day, he played Lost Highway by Hank Williams and was playing, he was blowing the French harp. He'd sing a line, and he'd blow a little French harp and sing another line. And I remember this stanza, a verse from the song that I just fell in love with that afternoon. Just a deck of cards and a jug of wine and a woman's lies make a life like mine. Oh, the day we met, I went astray. I started rolling down that lost highway. And there's another, I'll just read verses 3 and 4. I skipped verse 1. I'm just going to read around a little bit. I want you to hear verses 3 and 4. I was just a lad, nearly 22, neither good nor bad, just a kid like you. And now I'm lost, too late to pray. Lord, I've paid the cost on the lost highway. Now, boys, don't start your rambling round on this road of sin or your sorrow bound. Wait, let me start that. I didn't read that right. Now, boys, don't start your rambling round on this road of sin or your sorrow bound. Take my advice or you'll curse the day you started rolling down that lost highway. All right, so it has that quality that a lot of Hank's best lyrics have of being very simple and direct, but there's this complexity that underlies that simplicity. And you can tell that, you can tell that he really put a lot of time into crafting these lyrics, but I read somewhere where he said that melodies just came to him very easily. He would have a melody lickety split, but it was the crafting of the language that took up so much time in the songwriting process. And so, in a way, I mean, I don't think we would have sung this song in church along with I Saw the Light, or something like that. But it has a kind of gospel feeling about it. Now, it doesn't say turn to God, but the use of the word lost implies some religious thinking, because lost is very commonly used to describe somebody who's not right with God, but it can also mean something more general and more universally applicable, or that's universally applicable rather, that you're just lost in life, you're a lost soul. But it has this kind of, it endorses a view of life that I think a lot of people in my church would have approved of and shared. This idea that, rambling around and drinking and gambling and promiscuity and all these things are going to lead to nothing but grief and, in the end, a lost soul. All right. Now, let's turn over and look at a song by Hank Williams Jr. called All My Rowdy Friends Have Settled Down. And I'll just read a few choice passages from that song. I myself have seen my wilder days, and I have seen my name at the top of the page. But I need to find a friend just to run around. But nobody wants to get high on the town, and all my rowdy friends have settled down. There's this kind of elegiac tone here, a sort of lamentation or a kind of melancholic awareness that the speaker in this song is aging and kind of aging out of the wild days of youth. There's another part that says, and the hangovers hurt more than they used to, and cornbread and iced teas took the place of pills and 90 proof. And it seems like none of us do things quite like we used to do, and nobody wants to get high on the town, and all my rowdy friends have settled down. And the last chorus goes like this. Yeah, I think I know what my father meant when he sang about a lost highway. Now that line, I think I know what my father meant when he sang about a lost highway, that's been repeated. That's occurred in every single chorus. I just haven't been reading the choruses to you, but it's repeated in the song a number of times. It's sung a number of times in the song. Yeah, I think I know what my father meant when he sang about a lost highway. And Johnny Cash don't act like he did back in 68. And Chris Christopherson, and Chris, he is a movie star and he's moved off to LA. And nobody wants to get drunk and get loud. And all my rowdy friends have settled down. Yeah, me and my rowdy friends done rowdied on down. I like that, the way he uses rowdy as a verb there at the end. We rowdied on down. And so the speaker in this song is saying that he thinks he's had this epiphany. He finally understands what his father meant, Hank Williams Sr., meant when he sang about a lost highway. And I would love to talk to Hank Williams Jr. about this, I wonder whether this was a knowing, a deliberate, self-conscious reimagining of what the phrase lost highway could mean, or whether it proceeds upon the basis of a misunderstanding of his dad's song. That would be it'd be interesting to get to the bottom of that, because I think you can see that, in fact, the speaker in the song hasn't figured out what his father meant when he sang about a lost highway. He says, I think I know what my father meant. But he doesn't seem to know, because the way he's using the phrase lost highway in this song, All My Rowdy Friends Have Settled Down, is completely different, almost opposite the way his daddy used it in the song Lost Highway. Because in Lost Highway by Hank Williams Sr., lost in a way doesn't it's used as if it's an adjective modifying highway, the lost highway. But that's not really what it means. It means the highway of the lost, like the highway down which lost souls are rolling. That's what lost highway means in Hank Williams Sr.'s original. But the way lost highway is used in All My Rowdy Friends Have Settled Down by Hank Williams Jr., lost is an adjective modifying highway. It's a lost highway in the sense that there's this road of youthful wildness, youthful, gloriously sinful adventure. This highway that's been lost, like you can't find it anymore. It's that feeling people have at some point in life when on a Saturday night you'd like to get in your car and drive out to the club where you had all the fun, or the friend's house where you had all the fun, or the juke joint, or whatever it is, or the tavern. And it's as if the road to that place of sinful joy can't be found. There's a lost highway. The highway itself can't be found. You can't get back to that place. You've aged out of your own access to that kind of wild, youthful adventure. That, I think, is what All My Rowdy Friends Have Settled Down, that song, is about. And so, in a way, as you can see, the thing that's being regretted or mourned in these two songs, I should say, the things that are being regretted and mourned in these two songs are opposite, because Hank Williams is regretting that he's been so dadgum sinful and wild. It's resulted in his being lost as a soul. Whereas Hank Williams Jr. seems to be regretting that he's not still as wild as he used to be. He's sad that nobody wants to get drunk and get loud anymore and go out and be crazy. I love this concept of a lost highway, a road to some kind of adventure or fun or experience that you can't find anymore. You can't find the road to it. It's haunting, you know? Imagine that it were an actual road and you were going to drive out to this place of joy, or maybe joy is not the word, but revelry. You were going to drive out there to that place of revelry, or walk, or ride a bicycle, however you're going to get there, and the road has disappeared. I talked to a woman from Northern Ireland the other day who said that in her village where she grew up, there was a vanishing lake. Some days the lake was there and some days it wasn't, and nobody knew why it vanished and came back. And she said that it would be celebrated when the lake was there, like her dad would say, "Oh, the lake's here today, let's go get ice creams." There's something very haunting and fascinating about that image, like a lake that's there one day and gone the next. Same here, this vanishing highway. Although, in this case, it seems to have vanished for good. All right, y'all. Hope you enjoyed that. See you next time.